All right. That was our pre-theme song for the county board. I hope everybody enjoyed it. It is Tuesday, February 7th. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So who would like to hear the theme song again? So we'll start off here with the dispensing of the minutes from the January 17th meeting. Is there any modifications? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, page 2 of 7 at the top, third line down, where it starts out catch mark, it should be said that the staff had concerns on how tickets were handled and the follow-up of tickets. That's one, and
Okay.
page 6 of 7. At the bottom on the advisory committee updates, under mine for Highway 12, it should say that we discussed past successes and how it could continue on the west side of the county line rather than the other side of the highway.
Okay.
So those two corrections.
And staff has those noted. All right. With that, I will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes unless there's other modifications.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kachmarek, second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Perfect. All right. And now we'll entertain a motion of today's agenda. Is there any other additions or corrections to today's agenda?
Mr. Chair, two things. One, did you also want to do the minutes for the committees this time?
Oh, sure. I was for whatever reason in my brain, I was envisioning those as part of the consent agenda. I didn't really envision. So we'll backtrack to the approval of the committee minutes from the broadband committee, the committee of the whole, and the ditch committee of the whole. Those minutes can either be approved separately or combined based on motions of commissioners.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from all three of the committees.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Kachmarek for the committee minutes from the broadband committee of the whole and the ditch committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shane. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, committee minutes are approved. Now we'll move down to the approval of today's agenda. Is there any additions or corrections to the agenda, Administrator Kelly?
Mr. Chair, one thing to add, we received a charitable gambling LG 220 form from the Rachel Foundation. Due to the timing of their event being this weekend, we would like to petition that on the agenda for approval today.
And I would entertain that as adding it to the consent agenda, putting it as item number 7 under Finance and Taxpayer Services. Under the consent agenda. The information was emailed out to everyone.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the addition of number 7.
All right. So we'll go backtrack real quick and just approve the agenda with that addition first and adding that item number 7 to taxpayer finance. But would that motion be for the approval of the agenda with that addition?
Yes.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Kachmarek.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Great. Now the consent agenda. Is there anyone like to pull any items off the consent agenda today for further discussion? One item I am going to quickly note, if we want, we can pull it for further discussion, but there was a handout for consent item C3, the BNSF contract. There was some updated language removal, and the new contract is in here that was passed out in front of you. No major substantial changes, but if you'd like, we can pull it for further discussion. But otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve today's consent agenda as presented.
Mr. Chair, would you just want to summarize the changes?
I'll let
please.
Administrator Matthijs.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The changes on the consent, on the agreement is page 2. There was an item H that has been removed. Of course, I don't have the original in front of me, just have the notes of what was removed. And then on page 3, number 8, contractor requirements, that language was removed, as well as attachment C, which is one that the highway department will be doing most of that work anyhow, so it's not the contractor's responsibility, it's the highway department's responsibility.
Okay, that's typically been determined that way.
Yep.
All right.
And Virgil can yell at me if I'm wrong. He did not yell at me.
Mr. Chair, I had a question related to correspondence and contact with this railway. Does someone here have a name and phone number and a real person that they talk to, or is this all done by email or otherwise? I'm asking for current and future endeavors that involve the railroad.
Yeah, it varies from railroad to railroad. For Burlington Northern Santa Fe, it's Alex.
Okay,
Yep, I forget his last name, but we talk to him on the phone and we also email correspondence with him.
okay, I'll get that from you another time, but I didn't know really from this if there was, what kind of contact there was, but thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
You're no longer needed.
Is there any other discussions on this item? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of today's consent agenda if there's no further questions or items that need to be removed for further discussion.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Catchmark.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dietrich. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved unanimously. Now we are a couple minutes behind, but we will pull up the Sheriff's Department. Shauna, coming up here for the approval of a resolution accepting the Federal Boating Safety Supplemental Equipment Grant.
Good morning, Mr. Commissioner, Mayor, Mr. Chair, and Commissioners. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Shauna Ottman. I am the Office Administrator at the Sheriff's Office, so my primary areas are finance and technology. Since 2017, when the Sheriff's Office, in conjunction with that board, got our own mini finance area, including myself, we have been writing competitive grants. This is a competitive grant through the DNR that is going to allow us to replace our Polar Craft boat with a new Lund boat. The Polar Craft boat has a rotting transom, so it will be sold at auction this summer, but this will be a replacement to that fleet. I was asked to gather some information just for your overall knowledge. Our boat and water program is a statutorily mandated service, so we are statutorily mandated to have equipment for both water enforcement and water recovery. We currently have a Boston Whaler, which we received on grant. That and this Polar Craft, which will become the Lund boat, those are our two primary recovery boats. They have side sonar on them to help us locate submerged items that are underwater. Then we have an airboat, and the airboat is primarily used for ice rescue and shallow, weedy, dirty water type areas. We have 2 jet skis that we've also received from this grant. And the jet skis are our primary patrol and enforcement because one person can take one jet ski and go to any lake, get it in and out of the lake very easily. So they are primarily used also only though during the warmer summer months. They're not right away in spring or in the fall when the water's too cold for them. We have a Zodiac boat, and this is a blow-up boat, but think more like a whitewater rafting boat rather than like an inner tube. And it's designed for zero entry. So what that means is we can throw it in a pickup, go to a cliff ledge, wiggle our way down there and drop this boat in the water. We don't have to have a boat landing to get it in the water to be able to go out whatever it's after, whether it generally be used in some part of recovery or buoy placement for dangerous items, that kind of thing. And the River Pro that we were granted in 2017 is designed to get in shallower depths. It's got a more flat bottom. So it can do a lot of river shoreline stuff. And then we have a boat that is somewhere between 15 and 20 years old that's called the boat with the ducktail. And that's purpose solely is for really icky water. It's got a special kind of motor on it. So if you're in swampy or marshy water, for recovery type items. These items are all stored at the sheriff's office. They are not dispersed throughout the county. Some of that is ease of access, some of that is storage facility. We keep our boats inside. The DNR appreciates that we keep our boats inside. They comment on it when we come after this grant. And since 2017, we've received over $198,000 on this grant. So the vast majority of our boats, and I'm gonna say all except the ducktail boat, have been replaced since 2017 with this grant. In addition, we've also received OSHA hazmat dive suits so that when we're sending people in the water with a submerged vehicle, the oil and gasoline and stuff is not getting on their skin. And then the dive meters and things that go along with that, again, for the services we're required to provide. So my request is that you approve the resolution for the 29,154 for us to purchase the Lund boat, motor, and trailer and replace the Polar Craft.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thanks for the great explanation. I never worked with the boat water unit to know what it consisted of. I know there was a location west of town for a while that there were things stored at, and it's just good to know what the fleet looks like and what the uses are. So I'd make a motion to approve the resolution to accept the grant.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark, second by Commissioner Dietrich for the approval of the resolution accepting the federal boat safety supplemental equipment grant in the amount of $29,154. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to thank you and appreciate the work you've done on the grants and supporting the office and the equipment that's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's nice. There's always been comment for quite a few years that there's some grant money out there, and I'm glad you're working hard. That's hard work.
It is, yes, sometimes.
Thank you for the good details. This is a resolution vote. Commissioner Catchmark?
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our 907, which is now our 912 timed item. Chief Treichler is here to join us, scheduling a committee of the whole to discuss the 2022 deputy overcomp positions amongst some other items.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So 2022, we had approached the board, I think February, March, regarding overcomp positions, just to kind of try to get ahead of the hiring process. Obviously, when we discussed it last year, hiring within law enforcement nationwide within the state has become a challenge. There's not enough candidates within the state to fill all the current openings. So in order for us to offer candidates positions, a job offer without an actual position being open, we want those overcomps so we get at least get them in the door knowing we're going to have an opening within a week or two. So we told the board last year that we would come back and kind of give you an overview how the process went, the positives that we saw from being allowed to do that, and looking to schedule a committee of the whole to go through that. We have numbers as far as where we were at throughout the year with hiring, number of overcomps, how those flowed together, and then the overall cost.
All right. So let's bring up the calendar here. I think we had a requested date here. Sorry. And you had the requested date. Did I not see it in there? I know. You had one in there somewhere, didn't you?
I don't think I did.
Oh, maybe that's what it was, a different one. There was a couple different ones that requested dates, and so particularly looking to get some time here in the 2-3 weeks. You're looking to be more in the 4 to 6 week.
I think next 2 to 3 weeks would be great.
Okay, perfect. And we have openings the week of the 27th. Looks like the other option would be we could go, yeah, I'd say our best option would be probably the 27th after the Economic Development Authority.
Yeah, that works.
I would entertain a motion for probably setting for about a 10 o'clock or 10:30. That work?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, did we want to add the other matter on there, or you want, looking for two separate meetings?
Well, this is the only item for me.
Oh, underneath there, it talks about,
The contract rates.
Yeah.
Were you talking about adding that or is that at a separate time?
I believe that item got pulled from today's
Yeah, Mr.
agenda.
Chair, that was original discussion. It was submitted on the original agenda item. We
Oh,
looked
so the
to move it
updated
to-
agenda. I'm still looking at the old agenda. I haven't looked at
Sorry
the
about
updated
the,
one.
oh, okay.
Clarity
Okay.
to that, yes, we're having further discussions with Sheriff about that, as well as we're planning to do a fee schedule hearing to wrap up a number of fee schedule items towards the end of the month, so just delayed those items till later, so.
Oh, okay.
So apologize for the confusion on that. So today we do just have the one item that we'll be addressing.
Fair enough.
Well, Mr. Chair, I make a motion for that committee of the whole meeting on
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock on February 27th.
We have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark for a committee of the whole regarding the deputies over budgeted or over comp positions through 2023 on February 27th at 10 a.m. Second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Meeting is scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you.
Virgil, you've been waiting so patiently back there. He's coming forward here to approve a schedule for receiving bids and quotes for the upcoming highway department projects.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Board of Commissioners. I actually have an updated schedule I'd like to hand out.
You don't want to go for February?
Thank you.
No, we're going into March.
I see a little bit of an aggressive schedule there.
Thank you. Good morning.
So good morning, all. Today, I'd like to request approval of the schedule for receiving bids for some upcoming highway department projects. And our process is that generally we advertise for bids per state statutes and the county financial policy. Then we'll receive the bids, then we'll analyze them and make a recommendation for award at a future board meeting. And this is the schedule we have right now for 4 different projects: the seal coat program, pavement preservation program, plant mix bituminous quotes for patching for our maintenance folks, and then pavement marking program.
Is there any discussion on these time schedules for receiving bids? If not, I will enter, yes.
Just a question, Virgil. Does that, the time and date, does that represent when the bids are torn open over at your office?
Yes,
And anyone's public can be there to witness it also, right?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to set the schedule in stone.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark, second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, you can start chiseling away on that rock.
All right, we'll do that. Thank you. The next item is to approve a resolution regarding spring load restrictions on our highway system. And this we do annually to preserve the integrity and the life of our highways. The resolution in your packet, though, doesn't match what it should, so we have one to hand out here also. And then we have a map that should be in your packet that represents what we'll be posting the roads at.
Yes, Shauna didn't want to she wanted to make sure you didn't skip the boat and safety one. But this is the actual one for road restrictions.
Virgil's predicting an early thaw, so he's trying to be, super early prepared.
Let's keep that warm weather coming.
I won't fight you on that. So I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution regarding the spring load restrictions.
So moved.
All right.
Second it.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Resolution vote. Commissioner Shane.
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we're a few minutes early here for our timed public hearing at 9:30, so we will slide down to items for consideration and a reschedule of the committee of the whole for Tuesday, February 27th. We had a meeting at 1 o'clock. There's a few different conflicts that have arisen that evening, so we will look at moving that 1 o'clock meeting to another date in time. Looking to do it sometime between now and March 10th or 13th, so we can look. I know we just scheduled one item on the 27th. We could go on the 28th if we would like, at like so Commissioner Dietrich and myself are booked till 11 o'clock on the 28th, so we would be.
I like the 27th better.
You want to go on that? So we're booked till about 11:30. We could go at a 1 o'clock I'd say probably like either 11:30 or you could go after lunch at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, 1 o'clock, be good.
1 o'clock? Okay.
Mr. Chair, that was for the two items that were scheduled for 1 o'clock on the 21st?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we're moving to, I'll entertain a motion then to reschedule that committee of the whole from Tuesday, February 21st at 1 o'clock to, Monday, February 27th at 1 o'clock.
I'll make that motion.
All right,
second
motion
it.
by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting is rescheduled. Invites will be sent out to everyone. All right, second items for consideration is approve LG 240B application to conduct excluded bingo application for the Dasko Cato FFA alumni and supporters. This is a gambling application. Do you have any, I guess there's,
Not much. It's, you do see a number of these different types of forms from the, for gambling, charitable gambling, based on the type of the event or the type of gambling they're doing. You get a different form, so we get these periodically throughout the year as requested. So this, again, has just been requested by the Dassel Coqueto FFA alumni and supporters. We just need approval by the board.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve that request.
all right. We have a motion by Commissioner Ketchmark,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Any discussion?
She was gonna second it.
Oh, she's second, okay.
It's all good.
Yeah.
All right. Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Perfect. Third item for items for consideration is refer items to County Board Workshop for February 14th. The review request needs from Nobles County related to a transmission line, and then review discussion of the draft 2024 budget schedule. Is there any other items that would need to be considered at this time for the workshop? Otherwise, we'll just entertain a acknowledgement of that.
Mr. Chair, one other item, we would like to review the water quality grant recommendations. Be good to review that as well.
Mr. Chair, just a question.
Yes.
If something comes up that we want to add to the workshop, is that something we can add, or because this is a public meeting, it has to be posted a certain amount of ahead of time, what we're covering?
We still have to get it posted 3 days in advance, so if it's going to be of a substantial nature of discussion, if it's a quick update and is not looking for any type of consensus, we can discuss it if it's purely informational. But if it is of a nature where they're looking for consensus, then we would ask that it would be able to be published 3 days in advance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So with that, we'll entertain a motion to kind of put the agenda items together for the water quality grants, the budget 2024 schedule review, and then the information regarding the certificate of need.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Question on that, the time frame for the water quality grants, that, there's gonna be a review group that's not commissioners that's gonna review that before that time?
It'll come scored, yes.
We'll see the scored version.
I'll let Mr. Administrator Matthijs or our,
Matt's better at it.
Yeah, sorry, the deadline is this afternoon or, well, on the 7th, so we might not have all the scoring done, but we did want to discuss that with you. We're hoping to have scoring done before March 1st for all the projects.
So the deadline is today. The committee's meeting Friday to review applications and try to do our scoring and bring recommendations to you with the synopsis of the other requests as well.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go.
all right. Very good. Any other discussions? Questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain that motion.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Catchmark,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Workshop agenda is approved. Now, items for consideration number 4, the approved the closed session summary for the auditor treasurer review. There is a document kind of summarizing that included in the packet. Is there any discussion on the item? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for the adoption or
Mr. Chair, I'll make that
consensus of
motion.
it.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, does that include the recommendation or just the meeting itself?
So this would be the document itself, so I'll let you, so there's I guess it's kind of duplicated on there because there's the recommendations, and this is the recommendations from the committee of the whole as well as the item on there, so I guess.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I
Potato,
could, we did close this meeting, as you know, under Minnesota Statute 13, which does allow individuals subject to the authority of the board to be reviewed in a closed session. Obviously, any action that needs to be moved forward out of that meeting has to take place in a public forum, including in that a statement of the performance of the individual, which we did include in here. So rather than minutes, I just put together the summary document, so it is kind of serving two purposes, both minutes as well as recommendations.
So, yeah, we had the minutes up earlier in the agenda, and then we have items for consideration. We have the recommendations from the committee of the whole. So this would be kind of a duplication of the committee of the whole from the 18th as well. So, or at least partial of it. So with that, then I guess if you want to discuss this item now, we certainly can. So, because if we approve this, we wouldn't want to then discuss it later if there was any discussion that needs to take place.
Okay, I do have discussion, Mr. Chair. So I was at the meeting and I have comment and discussion about the last item, that's the remote work. And consensus of constituents that I talked to is that they want the people to be working in the new buildings. With this position in particular, we have a 6-figure salary with no reporting staff. We have staff that have inquired about the accountability of the position. We have this person's being utilized more in person with the current board than the past board from what I see, and it's been helpful that he's around to meet with them as needed. And also I've seen in doing a little research that at times the time and place that's written on the timesheet doesn't match the time and location of the actual work. So considering all those circumstances, I'd support at the most 1 day of remote work a week. And beyond that, if there's a need to not be at work, that PTO time would be used.
All right, so we have the motion by Commissioner Dietrich. We have a second by Commissioner Shane on this. First of all, we could ask if that's a friendly amendment to the motion maker and the second. Otherwise, we can vote on the original one and look for and see how that comes out. And So I guess my first ask would be, would you see if your motion makers would like to make a friendly amendment?
I would request, would the motion maker and the second be open to a friendly amendment to work from home at most 1 day a week, and the rest would be PTO if he's not here.
Mr. Chair, making the motion, I want to say no. I think we can evaluate what we already discussed at that meeting on an ongoing basis. If things aren't working in that manner, then we can make that adjustment.
And we had that set up for a review again in July, I think it was, so.
Absolutely.
Yep, and I'll stick with my same.
Okay. So then with that, we'll vote on the original motion, and we'll discuss that after the fact. So the motion was made for the consensus of the approval of the closed session summary and the subsequent document. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes 4-1. All right. So now moving on to the, what time is it? Oh, we're at public hearing time. All right. Now we're going to backtrack to the item E, the 9:30 public hearing to amend the Wright County Tobacco Ordinance. Attorney Kreiser.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Here before you, staff has presented to you ordinance amendment number 22-5, which is an amendment to Chapter 110 of the Tobacco Regulations. Specifically, 22-5 would, in its essence, reduce the setback from a youth-oriented facility from 1,000 feet to 500 feet. I will note to the board, notice was provided as required in the statute to all license holders and also was published, and documentation of the notices is on file with the Finance Department. In consultation further with Public Health, staff felt maybe at the 500 feet probably was not appropriate or was maybe too much. So Public Health requested a compromise of 750 feet, which is including your board packet in amendment number 22-5A. And the 750 feet would reduce the 1,000 foot setback to 750 if the parcel is across a state aid highway, a state highway, or a federal highway. So in those instances, it would be reduced from 1,000 to 750. So staff really is just looking for board input here. We wanted to present this as a communication item and a discussion item, and also open it up for public comment to see what does the community want on this. It's come to light, I think, in staff that maybe 1,000 feet might be too restrictive as a blanket policy across the county. So this is really the best way, I think, to have a discussion with the board as to how I would like to proceed. So, Mr. Chair, I guess with that, if you have any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, we do have public health staff here that can answer any questions you also have. Otherwise, this is a public hearing, and I'll withhold further comment until after the public hearing.
All right. So if there's no other questions from board members prior to that, then at this time, I will open up the public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak regarding the ordinance amendment for the Wright County Tobacco Ordinance?
Good morning. My name is Carol Moss, and I'm an attorney from Helmuth and Johnson, and I represent Albertville Tobacco and Vape. And it was one of the license holders that received the notification regarding the change in the ordinance. I just have a couple of brief points to bring before the council. One is my client's concern as to why there is a sudden change regarding the ordinance. They have in the past attempted to find second locations within the Wright County and have abided by the 1,000-foot ordinance and have made their business plan around where it can be located and where competitors can be located. And so while we are appreciative that it's no longer 500 feet, our inquiry is the reason why the sudden change. The second thing, just very briefly, in review of the draft ordinance, I was looking at paragraph 7, subparagraph B, and then there's 1 and 2. I'd just like to bring that to the council's attention, whether the 1 and 2, whether there should be an and or an or between those two parts. I'm assuming you meant and, but it's a little bit unclear, and I want to bring it to the council's attention before you get an attorney like me arguing with it. So with that, those are my comments, but I really, my client is questioning the reason why the sudden change. And there was a problem with one of the license applicants and holders of a competitor that we had brought to the county's attention. And we are inquiring whether or not this change is to accommodate that single business. And therefore, if that is the case, we would object and would like all businesses to be treated the same and not winners or losers in the situation. Thank you very much.
So first of all, Attorney Krasner, do you want to talk about that and or?
I appreciate council giving that to us, that heads up. Yes, I think an and should be included in 22-5A if the board is inclined to adopt that amendment.
And this was I'll make a quick response to the statement that was asked there. This has kind of been an item in question from its original onset as to the distances and what they should be, and trying to debate whether we're being too restrictive or under restrictive on subsequent locations. And as it's come to our question, even to your point though, with trying to find locations from your client was challenging with the limitations that were there previous. And the precipitation of these changes is to try and make that a little bit more readily accessible to applicants. Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to public comment? Is there any other public comment?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Can you just explain a little bit how this might apply, in addition to the city ordinances that are in place regulating tobacco?
Attorney Kreiser, maybe before we go into the discussion piece, I'll close up my public hearing
Okay.
first piece. Yep,
From the public,
yep,
yep.
no problem.
Thank you.
So is there any other public comment?
Mr. Chair, as far as public comment, we got an email in writing from the public. Was there any other public comment to share that came by other correspondence?
We received, we sent to the board all written comments that we had. I believe it was 5 pages with 4 comments.
Okay.
That is correct. Thank you for making that noted. All right. So is there any other public comment?
Excuse me, we just came in right now. It's about the tobacco.
Oh, you'll need to come forward and speak here at the podium and at least state your name so for the record.
Hi, my name is Ayman Isa, and I just came in now late. This is about the tobacco.
You are correct, yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Chair, point of order, could you spell your name for the minute taker, please, so you can be reflected accurately?
Okay.
You can stay at the podium, but just spell your name out.
I'll give you my.
Oh, well, all right,
Make it easy for him.
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, yes.
My name is Ayman Isa, and I am the owner for the tobacco shop in San Michael. So I don't know how I'm gonna start. That's my first time in microphone. So when we opened the store when we applied for the license back in September, we came into the Wright County, and I remember we spoke to, I forget her name, Krisha, something, that back in 5-6 months ago. And we give her different address next to the Speedway, and between Speedway and I think it's by Family Buffet something. And she told us this is too close to the Splash Youth. And we went a little bit far to the African store, which is we got approved. And I wish like the city of San Michael or you visit the store before we took over the store. And I have some pictures like from, I did talk to the landlord, and from dead rat, mice, very filthy store, like chicken feet and a lot of, it took us like 1 month to clean the store. So, and we did renew the license during the construction, and we got approved based in, we are like little bit over the 1,000 feet. So like 5 years ago, the city of Minneapolis and the Hennepin County, they passed a law to ban tobacco items from gas station, and they give it to the tobacco shop. Why? Because the tobacco shop stores good for age of 21 and up. And gas station, they have a lot of items. Like when my kids, they want to choose which one to go to, tobacco shop or Quick Trip or Holiday, they go to Holiday. They have slushy machine, they have ice cream, they have, you name it. They have ramen noodles, beef jerky, gum, this and that. We have none of those. That's why the city of Minneapolis and the Hennepin County, they ban these items, tobacco shop, like from flavor cigar to vape to this and that, because these things will be attractive for the kids when they go inside the gas station to buy like their grocery, their candy, their slushy machine, their energy drink, other drink. And they pass it to the tobacco shop. That's why they give the tobacco shop the optional to have these items. And in fact, like Holiday next to me, they have tons of items attractive to the youth. They have like everything, from coffee, from walking cooler, they have energy drink, Gatorade, soda, and I have none of those. Like my store will be, I don't see even kids visit the store with their family in my store. It will be boring for them. They will find no item for them, no toys, nothing, no slushy machine, no ice cream, none of these items available. Even they don't know how to read the items in our stores. So, and we opened the store, and I don't know if the clerk made mistake at that time but we went through like this address, oh, it's too close, this address close. Then we decide to go all the way at the corner, which is the last things in San Michael downtown, it's the African store. After this, there is some manufacturer, warehouse, and there is nothing left. So hopefully, if you pass, this law will help us to like save a lot of, build up the store, cost us money and the inventory. I have maybe over, I can prove I have over $300,000 invoices. It's loans from Granite City, they supply me the product, to Golden Valley, to too many like warehouses. We are paying payment during like every month. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to comment for the record? Is there anyone else that would like to comment for the record? One last time, would anyone else like to comment for the record? If not, I will close the public hearing at this time and bring the discussion up here.
Mr. Chair, if I could address Commissioner Diedrich's question that she presented. The county tobacco ordinance is the primary ordinance across the county except for 3 municipalities, which are the city of Buffalo, city of Annandale, and city of Howard Lake. Those 3 jurisdictions generally mirror what we do here at the county so that we have a consistent pattern across the county. But those 3 entities would have to, if they wanted to change their ordinance, they would have to do it on their own. But they have asserted their own tobacco jurisdiction. Otherwise, all the other jurisdictions and townships in Wright County, this ordinance would apply to.
Have you gotten any feedback from those communities?
I'm going to have to leave that over to public health. I have not.
I've only heard from We have not. And in fact, we were waiting for today's meeting to see what the guidance from the board would be, because we've been in ongoing conversation with the county attorney's office about what the restrictions will end up being at. But I did hear from the city of Monticello.
Do we know what their feedback was?
They asked for a meeting. I think they have tied, it's a bit of a unique situation. They have tied their licensing within I don't even know if licensing is the correct word, but right now the way that they're allowing the hemp marijuana or the hemp THC to be distributed is through their licensed tobacco-only shops. And so they're relying on that 1,000-foot setback as part of their process to control that in their jurisdiction. And so I think, I don't want to read into what their questions were, but obviously changing the setback would change that further restrictions that they've done.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So is there any other questions regarding the ordinance amendment? There's some other aspects to the ordinance as well, if people have board members have reviewed it, other than the setback changes, or the changes from the distance, but there's some other restrictions incorporated with it as in addition.
I guess I'm just curious, Mr. Chair, what is the most compelling reason to make this change?
So it's really the compelling piece to it is about really offering people the opportunities for free enterprise, but then also trying to finesse that from a public health aspect of it. Because when looking at it, you start looking at locations where you're going, well, geez, I really didn't realize that was our current ordinance would make a lot of locations restrictive, even though people would have to cross an interstate in some situations to get to it. But it's within the setback distance previously. Well, I don't look at it as like a barrier of a highway or as an interstate is a far greater barrier than any distance would apply. So adding some of that language to it and then incorporating a shorter distance with such a barrier would then make it, would accommodate the same thing as you would have having a large distance. And that's a lot of what this has to do is taking those man-made obstacles into account in distance.
Mr. Chair, my comment is more along the lines of being a previous business owner. I kind of feel the need to not have bigger government making some of these decisions to inhibit growth of an actual business in these communities, and especially when you're in a smaller community, when the growth area or the business area is so restricted also. So just a little comment on that viewpoint from a business perspective.
And just for reference, like a city block is roughly about 315 feet on average, give or take. I mean, so you're talking a block and a half, or changing this is less than a block, 250 feet less. It's less than the distance. I'm just talking about the distance, like what is the whole impact of the you know, when you're looking, you said a highway, but I mean, to allow more of these businesses in maybe a smaller downtown area, that type of thing.
Downtown areas, just because right now, based on the ordinance, there's so many areas that are just blocked out because of parks, schools, and then when you take that and then you look at the available locations and then you sit there and you go, well, geez, if you're going from parcel corner to parcel corner, which even makes that distance from the actual structure to the actual structure could be almost, 2,000 feet really from that perspective. I see. And that's what, but the only way to do it is to actually do it from parcel to parcel side, because otherwise you get to be into building placements and door entries, and then it gets to become very gray and arguable. So that's why we realized in looking at it after the fact when we adopted it and realizing that how far that really is when you start going from parcel corner to parcel corner, in some locations, you could literally make it where there's only a handful of, if even a handful of locations in some of the smaller municipalities to even be able to open up a shop when you start factoring in schools, parks, et cetera.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, I will entertain a motion for the adoption of the ordinance amendment. Like the ordinance amendment, I forget that it's.
Mr. Chair, you have two of them before you. The primary ordinance amendment is 22-5, and then staff presented an amendment, which would be to delete everything in 22-5 and then insert the 750 language, which was 22-5A. With the correction, if you're going to do 22-5A, the correction of the addition of the word "and" in section 2, subpart 7B1.
And I think we should be doing 22-5A with the recommended "and." But I will entertain any motions from board members at this time.
I'll go ahead and make that motion for the 22-5A with the subsection corrected with the "and." Did I say that correctly?
Very good. All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, a second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right, my agenda, when I printed it off, I realized I cut off a portion of one timed item. So Administrator Matthijs requests to schedule a joint meeting between the Wright County Board of Commissioners and the Wright County Soil and Water. I apologize for that.
Is that the one? This is 23rd?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We do have a request from Soil and Water. They used to have an annual meeting with the joint boards to talk about joint projects, conservation projects, stuff like that, funding that we give them and how it's used. Looking at March 23rd, it'd be the morning of March 23rd. I believe that's what I put on here. Here at the Government Center to have that meeting and have their board as well as Luke Johnson, their director, in attendance and start build that relationship.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I could just give a throw out to Soil and Water. This has always been a very good meeting. It's always been very informational, even as a staff attorney who shows up at a lot of our stuff and works with them through the year. I even find a benefit in finding and learning what they do out there to help the community. It's pretty impressive, the grants that they get through their office and what they do. I mean, we just dealt with a $30,000 grant here today from the Sheriff's Department for a boat safety. I mean, $30,000 to them would be a drop in the bucket for the grant funding that they get. So.
Yep. And you get to learn some joint projects. They have an engineer that works for them that helps us with some best practice management along the ditches and works with Matt. BMPs.
I learned that.
They do a lot of conservation. They also do a tour in the summertime on some of their practices that they do, and you're invited to that at that time, but that'll be scheduled later. So March 23rd is the recommended date if that works.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland for March 23rd for the, the
8:30 to noon.
8:30 for the,
Joint meeting with
joint
Soil and
meeting
Water.
between Soil and Water and the county
County.
board.
Yep.
And I had spoken with Luke a little bit, and he's going to present some of the items that they're statutorily required as a Soil and Water, and then to also educate the group here on the things that us as a group have delegated as a county board to the Soil and Water, which were statutory requirements of ours that we delegate to them.
Information too.
Yep.
That is actually a really good piece to get everybody up to speed. But then after that, they'll kind of walk you through the projects they've been, as Attorney Kreiser has stated, they've done a lot of great partnerships with us, especially in our drainage department, but also on a lot of other projects as well.
Mr. Chair, would it be in this room?
It'll be in, I think I scheduled 11:03.
Okay.
March 23rd, that Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Is there any other discussion? All right, hearing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Next is to have the discussion about the appointed representatives to the Aggregate Tax Committee.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we established the Aggregate Tax Committee to look at the Special Reserve Fund for aggregate tax. Aggregate tax is a tax that's placed on mining extraction here in Wright County. Right off the top, 5% goes to finance for administration of that program. And then 42.5% goes to the Wright County Highway Department for maintenance on roads and bridges. And then 42.5% goes to the townships or the city in which that pit was in. And then there is 15% of that goes to a special resource fund that can be used by state statute on reclamation of abandoned pits as well as conservation and other environmental needs. With that, we developed a draft application process to review requests for those funds in those processes. And you, as a county board, the prior cast the characters, as Mike would say, established that committee to be one representative from a city and 2 representatives from townships. Notice was put out to the cities and townships, and you have received nominations from those cities. We had two nominations, one from the city of Hanover and one from the city of Cokato, so it'd be a choice on one of them. And then we had townships, Monticello Township, Buffalo Township, and Silver Creek Township put in for nominations. So I'd recommend appointing them, and then we'll work with Lindsay to start the first meeting to kind of go over what that program's all about, and then get applications announced, and then have that application review. After that application review is completed, their recommendation would come back to you as a full county board for your consideration and approval of those projects.
So, Mr. Chair, thanks, Mark, for keeping this going and meeting with us on the candidates or applicants here. So Commissioner Diedrich and I met yesterday, and I can just run through what we had discussed with the rest of the board here, and her and I are going to sit on this committee. But so we had the 2 city nominations. We had Hanover and Cokato. It was pointed out that Hanover actually has a pit in their city limits, so that seems like an appropriate choice versus a city that doesn't have a pit. And we only had 2 applicants from the city. So recommending the Hanover Council member Amory. And for townships, we had 3 applicants, 1 from Monticello Township, 2 from Buffalo Township, and 1 from Silver Creek Township. I've worked more with Buffalo Township folks. We didn't have a letter of interest or resumes or anything else, so we had to kind of work through what we had and information of personal contact that Mark has had also. But after looking at the township applicants over, we'd recommend, and Commissioner Diedrich can speak for herself, but I would look for Chair of Buffalo Township Donald Schmidt and Silver Creek Township Supervisor Sandra Forsman to be the 2 township representatives on this committee.
Yeah, I believe that was the consensus when we met.
So if there's any other feedback, otherwise
I
I'll
think
make a
that,
motion.
that's a good mix, because I wouldn't want, you wouldn't want 2 from my district either, so you want to, from that perspective, you would have to choose someone from Buffalo Township. As much as I mean, it'd be nice to have 2 representatives from my district, but to make sure that it's a good mix across the county. I was surprised we didn't see anything from Southside Township.
I was surprised we didn't see, I didn't get any notice from Southside or Middleville. I was expecting that.
That was, well, Middleville is exactly as well, areas that have a lot of pits as well, so kind of interesting.
So I'll make that motion to approve those applicants as I noted, which would be Hanover Council Member Amory, Buffalo Township Supervisor Schmidt, and Silver Creek Township Supervisor Forsman for that Ag Tax Committee.
All right. And we have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Diedrich. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
All right, thank you very much. We'll get notice out to those selected.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.
There we go. move things around here. All right, now we are moving on to the approval of the items for consideration. Item number B, the committee recommendations. So we have the ditch committee recommendations from the January 19th.
Yeah, sorry, I do have a couple timed items.
Sorry, did I? Oh, you're right. I because I had my page cut off on there and I already skipping you out there. I moved on for the, moved around so much at that public hearing, I kind of forget I got to go to the 9:45. Thank you, Commissioner
Keeping you on
Dietrich.
your toes.
Keep me on my toes.
Can't get rid of me that
When you
easy.
get to jump around and you forget, you kind of move back to the end of it. So, no, 9:45, schedule the public hearing for the petition for the partial abandonment of joint ditch number 15 under Minnesota Statute 103E.
Yes, yeah, we received a petition for partial abandonment from a landowner in the system for about 1,200 feet of a lateral of this ditch system. So by law, we have to hold a public hearing where all landowners on the ditch system will be notified. So we're looking to schedule that. The one date that the engineer and myself agreed upon, at least for now, is March 7th at 10:30 a.m. If that works, obviously somewhat flexible on time and dates.
So right following the county board meeting, it should be open at this time for myself, so I,
At what time, 10 a.m.?
10:30, right?
Yep, that's what.
Following the county board meeting, yes, on Tuesday, March 7th. All right. Then with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Ketchmark to schedule a public hearing for the partial abandonment joint ditch number 15. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The meeting for the public hearing has been scheduled on March 7th at 10:30 a.m. Second item, approval from the county board to utilize buffer riparian aid received from the state to purchase equipment in 2023.
Yep, and then I have a short PowerPoint presentation that should have gotten included in there. We're looking to purchase a compact excavator utilizing these funds. It would have the power tilt option, which allows us to oscillate the head of the unit, plus a flail mower attachment. So we have kind of an informal equipment committee between highway, parks, myself, and soil and water in some cases. So we've been looking at ways to utilize some of these funding or potential equipment purchases in the future that would benefit all of us. So this is one that came through, and if there's any questions or if we had any questions about the equipment itself, I'd be happy to answer them. So.
Mr. Chair. From working with Matt on a lot of ditch projects, it seems like there's a need for the smaller size excavator versus running across the county or into another county to rent the item. And we have the people trained, he said we have adequate number of people that can operate this, but they'll take some special training. If we had let soil and water use it, would that be for rent or gentleman's agreement, or how would that work?
Soil and water staff is set up a little different than our union employees, so none of their staff as of now can operate it. It would be for joint projects similar to what we were discussing earlier, some that we work on jointly for ditch projects and stuff like that. If it's a project that we're not really involved in at the county, they could potentially work out a work agreement with one of our employees to have them do the work. I don't foresee that being a big time constraint, or probably a couple projects a year at most, but we'd work out some sort of agreement to be able to do that with them if they need.
What's the availability and delivery if you get the okay today and you order it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Tim was calling me as we were waiting for this, so whenever we get approval, we would order it. Some of this is on back order. Obviously, there's equipment shortages all around. I'd assume 3 to 4 months from talking to him.
Okay.
It's not as challenging as a Trailblazer bus, huh? We're 18 months on those.
And this is something the county has never owned?
We have never owned one. We lease them quite a bit. Obviously, Highway leases a much larger size excavator. I spoke with Nate Helgensen. They would definitely use this. This isn't the golden egg for all their projects. This is a much smaller excavator. So there's definitely some need for them to still rent or lease a larger excavator. That's something we want to discuss potentially in the future about purchasing one. just for our needs and with the trucks and trailers we have, this is essentially the largest excavator we can get and still haul them without having to buy a tandem axle truck, much larger trailer, and the excavator itself, which would not be covered with the money I have. So I think this is a good middle ground. We've been leasing these for the past 3-4 years, mostly 1 month in the fall. I have about $8,000 in my equipment rental budget. After purchasing this, I foresee reducing that to about 1,000, maybe even less. So there would be cost savings for my budget too as well, because I won't be leasing this for a month every year.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to say thank you again for the hard work on a grant to purchase equipment that will be widely used between different departments. So I just really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I know we've had discussions in the past about being able to find ways that we could utilize them with other municipalities and townships. And I don't know if we've still continued those discussions on that, but I know there was always a liability concern. But I think there's a lot of ways that as government agency to government agencies, maybe in the future, when we start getting larger equipments, that we can maybe find ways to make that happen.
Yeah, I reached out to a lot of townships and stuff, mostly just wondering if they had a piece of equipment like that. The biggest one was probably Dan Bravender from Cokato Township, has a smaller one, uses it quite a bit, was really a big selling point for that, but he sees there's probably some events that they could be used for other townships that don't have access to something like this, and cities as well. So yeah, whatever works from the legal side, I'll let Greg determine that, and Tim, but yeah, I think it'd just be at least, you know, internally for our departments that we would use it quite a bit as county staff. So.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
All you had to say is that Cokato Township had one and we don't, and I think that that speaks for itself. But I'll make a motion to approve utilizing the buffer riparian aid money from the state to purchase this equipment in 2023.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Holland. She beat you by a second. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mr. Detchen.
Thank you.
All right, now we are actually moving towards the end of the agenda. Matt may be able to come in up here if there's any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the recommendations either collectively or individually. If there is any discussion, or if you want to make any modifications, we can do them individually. Otherwise, I'll look to approve the committee recommendations either way.
Mr. Chair, is this
Yes.
duplicate of one we did already?
One of them is a duplication.
Then we would just
The other one is
one
the,
and two, right?
well, there's a little, I mean, there was the informational item, and then there was the other was just to keep position as is from the committee of the whole on the 18th for the piece, but then there was a closed session as well, but that closed session was kind of a largely separate item. So, but there's really no action items from the January 18th committee of the whole. They're keep as is, and then informational only on legislative discussions. And then there's a variety of recommendations from the broadband committee. But a lot of it is to kind of just keep discussions with ISP providers in providing other areas service within the county, and then to work in providing broadband to the French Lake Township area and Southside Township area. Another meeting coming up in the future scheduled into that recommendation. And then to research other opportunities and encourage providers to apply for other opportunities, monitor mapping, and continue to change inaccurate information, largely because in order for areas in the county to be able to utilize border-to-border grants, they actually have to have accurate mapping, and there's actually some areas that weren't able to actually get funding because the mapping wasn't accurate. So.
Just an update on the broadband, working with Elizabeth from the projects. Meeker County Co-op and Midco are willing to provide services in that area. She got that feedback from them for South Haven, Southside, and French Lake.
Oh, great to hear that
A
they
little
were able to
competition, and yeah, so she just caught me last week to mention that. So
both Meeker County and Midco are going to
They said that they would be willing to move forward.
They're both interested, so that's very good. That's
Very much,
great.
very much so. So I did contact South Haven mayor and let him know.
Well, more discussions on that then here in our next broadband meeting coming up, and that's very good. So with that, I will entertain a motion. Then we also then had the drainage recommendations to continue the issues with County Ditch number 13, and then to continue the process of ensuring repairs are done on 16 and 19. And then there's some variety of other items in there that were discussed. So with that, is there a motion to approve the
So
committee?
moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, the committee minutes are approved unanimously. Now moving on to advisory committee updates. I'll start over here on this end, Commissioner Dietrich, so you don't have to go last. I'll let you start to go first.
All right, but I know that some of you will already cover some of this. So I just had we had a couple aggregate mining meetings, and I'll let you cover that one. The big one, yesterday I went to the Central Minnesota EMS and meeting, and they're, unfortunately, if they don't get funding, they're not going to continue to exist. And so they'll be coming to the boards in different counties. Apparently, the metro area has already changed their funding to get funding from counties to support the program. So that's one of the approaches they're looking at to continue in operation and offering the training, equipment grants, all those kind of things that they already do. So just be aware that that will be coming either at a workshop or a committee at first, as they finalize what they're seeking. I went to One Watershed, One Plan online up at the St. Cloud, Mississippi. Just really good information. Lots of stuff to keep researching. Right now, the last month has just been really a lot of learning, and I enjoy it. And so just looking at some of the ways that we can all work together when water flows in different directions and impacts people. So it's just some of those things. So that I'm done. No more talking.
You're good.
I went to the Wright County Historical Society meeting, and I just want to do a shout out to our maintenance staff because they're highly praised for anything that they have a problem with. Alan and his team come down and help, and it was a good committee. They had a good tree festival and looking for things in the future. And then last week I had Central Minnesota Council on Aging. That was very interesting about how to take care of our aging population. And then I also, First Steps. I had a meeting last week with First Steps, which is following young families who just have babies, and then tracking them for 2 years, just to make sure that they're feeling empowered as parents, and then that the kids are thriving. And of course, the convention was the AMC training was very informative. I got a lot of information from that. That was well worth going.
I agree.
I'll make mine 2 seconds here. So the gravel work group came together. We have solidified a kind of tentative finalized timeline. So we'll have about 2 more small group meetings, and we're finishing up our revised language. That revised language will then be sent out to the townships for comment the month of April or thereabout of, so giving them 30 days for comment. It'll come forward to the Planning Commission roughly the first part of May for the Planning Commission for the public hearing. And then it'll come before the county board, either the last meeting in May or first meeting in June for potential adoption. But that's the rough timeline for that. Made a good number of substantial changes, but the substantial changes are ones that are keeping us very much in line with what our sister counties have, so that we're kind of more up to date, since it is a very dated ordinance that it hasn't had any kind of major review in decades. So from that aspect, the aquatic invasive species, Commissioner Dietrich and I had our first meeting there for this year. We reviewed the potential budget for, or the budget allocation for aquatic invasive species treatment plan for this coming year for a recommendation to the Soil and Water Board for adoption. Back on January 20th, the Wright County EDP had their annual meeting, very well attended. I believe there was either 100 or close to 100 people in attendance for that event. Great speaker from the Millex band. They did a speaker that spoke on finding kind of more role models and good communication. So it was really great, insightful event. Trailblazer we met as well. Maybe you have comments that you want to speak on that. I mean, I think it's the amazing side of it that is the length that it takes to get a bus. We've ordered buses now. Some of our buses are going on 2 years now because of COVID, and they keep pushing it out. So that we're not expected to get any new buses now into 2024, but they say that could even get pushed back even further. So the challenges that we have at this time is that we're running buses, well into the 250 to 300,000 mile range, and for a gasoline motor, that's less than ideal for a gasoline motor. Diesel on the other side would be a different story, but the contracts and where we're set up is for those gasoline motors. Well, we're limping them along so far, so good. The other side of the problem is even if we wanted to acquire engines, there's a waiting list to get those. So we're just hoping we can keep the engines running long enough till we can get new buses to arrive. So at this time, so far, so good. Labor challenges are still always a thing, but we have so far been able to keep all of our routes operating because we've been able to maintain enough staff. But it's the challenge of ridership is up, demand is up, staffing is challenging, but I think everybody says that everywhere. And then you also have just the supply shortage, which right now hasn't triggered us, but we worry at any given time, either the staffing issue or the equipment issue could put us into a situation where service could get to be compromised. Just to keep people aware of that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, second to a lot of those things with everything going on. We had some cross meetings. I met with Hanover City Council with their regular board meeting. They had a County Road 19 update, so citizens could still have some input on that. So I've been kind of working with Chad and Virgil on that. We'll keep you updated with that. We also had a joint governing meeting with the cities and the school, and that's just to give an update from everybody what the cities are taking place. Not one of my normal committees, but got invited to it. Thought nonetheless I should probably show up. We have Safe Schools coming up. I'm not going to be able to attend the one that's coming up, but I have it down for March. I have the extension services coming up later today, so I'm excited about that. That'll be my first time to go into that and to meet everyone. We also have, just in case you haven't seen, we have the Transportation Day down at the Capitol on March 1st that I plan on attending, so I'm not sure if anyone else is interested in that. Been talking with Virgil too with that as well. That's it. Thanks.
Well, at an Emergency Services Board meeting, one thing interesting came out of that. They shared that 911 technology has improved so that if somebody calls 911 from anywhere and it goes to a particular agency, that agency can now automatically transfer that caller to the appropriate agency. It used to be a lot of red tape, challenging to get them to where they needed to be because of the way the signals and everything floated around. So that's going to happen very soon across the state. So real positive there. Couple Safe Schools meeting. Apparently there's a new industrial art out there called vaping that they're working to try and deal with in school. And it comes and goes, but now it's kind of spiking again. So staff is trying to figure out how to address that in the best way. Fair Board meeting we had, I had to leave early for another meeting last night, but they had shared that they went to a conference. There's a conference for county fairs in Minnesota to get ideas on different attractions and different things. So they're gonna work through that and see what they can gain from that conference. And we had a Ditch 10 meeting with Victor Township to share their comments and concerns leading up to the public wrap-up for that ditch that's gonna be coming up here not too long. That'll be for everyone, but we just met with Victor to try and work with them through how the process went to this point. That's all I have.
Thank you. Administrator Kelly?
Thank you. 24th, myself and Mr. Mattice were able to attend the City Administrator and Economic Development Staff Luncheon put on by the Economic Development Partnership. Nice turnout there. Good discussion about what the needs are and the challenges, what each of the cities is working on. A lot of questions about the buildings we're working on too. So a good discussion on that. As you may have seen, the Juneteenth holiday was approved by the governor. So we'll be bringing forward a policy modification as needed for that. Lastly, as we have in past years, the facility staff is going to be lighting up our Justice Center purple for Buffalo Strong Week. So just wanted to make aware of that. So that's my updates for this week. Thanks.
I'd like to add as well, Alina is going to be observing a moment of silence on the 9th.
Okay.
All right, great. Well, if there's anything else that anyone needs to bring before the board here before we adjourn, hearing none, then we will adjourn the Wright County Board meeting here today at 10:21.